Let's go over the ways you can trim in Resolve. There are two ways of manipulating clips in Resolve. First is your mouse cursor. The second way is using shortcuts. This could be keyboard or peripherals like the Stream Deck and Speed Editor. Using the mouse, you can move and resize clips. If I click and hold, I can drag a clip and move it anywhere on the timeline. And if I hover over the edge, I can see the cursor changes, and this allows me to resize the endpoint of the clip. Now notice that Resolve also shows the number of frames that I'm adjusting the clip. And this works with the endpoint as well. Click, drag. Now unique to Resolve is the trim edit mode, which is this icon here. This changes how the mouse interacts with clips on the timeline. This time when resizing the clip, it now ripples everything after the current clip. If I do that to the end, clips after the current edit point are automatically being adjusted, so there are no gaps on the timeline. Resolve only ripples clips after the selected edit point. This edit point is between the start and end point of the clip below it, while in trim edit mode, if I adjust the end, it doesn't affect the clip below it. However, if I go to the start, now we can see the clip moving. Now hovering over the top of a clip, the cursor now changes to the slip symbol. Pulling to the right or to the left adjusts what portion of the source clip is seen without affecting the in and out points on the timeline. Hovering at the base of a clip, the icon changes to slide. This adjusts the current clip as well as the end point for the previous and the end point for the next clip, so there are no gaps. The last unique thing about the trim edit mode is the ability to select edit points. Clicking and dragging in this mode highlights any edit points, and then we can roll multiple points. Whereas in normal select mode, clicking and dragging would just reposition multiple clips. Clips in Resolve with audio show this link icon, meaning that any selection or adjustment will apply to both video and audio. You can turn off link selection. Now, so if I click and drag, it doesn't affect the audio. And this also applies to adjusting in and out points. While link selection is on, if I hold Alt, I can select just the video or just the audio, and the same applies for edit points. The newest way of trimming in Resolve is the trim editor, which can be found under trim editor, or you can double click an edit point. The clip on the left in green is at the top, clip on the right in blue is at the bottom. Clicking in the middle will allow us to roll. I can resize the clip on the left and resize the clip on the right. Just as with editing on the timeline, turning on trim mode and then going to the trim editor will ripple clips as if we were editing on the timeline. The trim editor is useful for people who like trimming with the mouse. I can use my up and down arrows to jump to different edit points. While keeping the mouse in the trim region of the trim editor. Looking at the shortcuts under the trim section of the menu, we have a lot of options, but I'll focus on trim start, trim end, extend edit, resize, ripple, and roll. Adjusting clips with shortcuts is based on where your playhead is. So let's say I want to resize the beginning of this clip. I put the playhead where I want it to start and then hit Resize In to adjust the clip to exactly where the playhead is. And in this case, since we used resize, it left a gap. Now let's do ripple in, and as expected, it removed the section before the playhead and shifted everything after the playhead, so there is no gap. Now if we do roll in point, it will shift the edit point for both clips to the playhead. We can do that with the end as well. To show what happens when you use slip, I'll place a marker on this clip. Slip in, adjust the clip so that wherever the playhead is, that becomes the start of the clip. And it does that without adjusting the edit points. If I undo that, if I go to slip end, we'll see the marker jump to the end of the clip. And we can see it jumped. The trim hotkeys operate differently based on what mode we're in. So if we're in normal mode, we can resize in, resize out, and I'll undo that. And if you switch to trim mode, it now operates like a ripple trim. And we can see it shifted the clips. Resize and ripple operate the same way regardless of what trim mode we're in. So let's go back to trim edit mode. And if we use resize in again and resize out, it operates the same way. Extend edit moves in and out points to wherever the playhead is. What this allows us to do is close gaps.